Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's doing fantastic. It's another wonderful day. My name is Alvaro Leal, and I am your Wayland Baptist University Advanced Computer Applications Professor. And in this lesson, we're going to be doing lesson number 5. Lesson number 5 talks about buying a new car and then driving it for the life of the car and then figuring out the price per year per car. So if you had three choices of car, that way you can see how much each car would ultimately cost per year, okay? And then you can see all the little things that are involved. All right, so once you're done with your spreadsheet, make sure you upload it to Blackboard, all right? And make sure all the formulas are there. I will have a little bit of a tutorial at the end after this video. So just go ahead and watch the video and stay till the end so you can see me go over the spreadsheet so you know what to do exactly. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and watch the video.
To the last in the series of Excel problem solvers. On this video, Susan and Tim are asking us to help them purchase a car. Susan says, "Would you help me pick one of these 3 cars? I want to spend as little as possible. I want to drive the car until it has 250,000 miles when I assume it will be nearly worthless. I drive about 30,000 miles every year. Thankfully, I have enough money to save so I don't have to borrow money and pay interest on a loan that would cost me an extra 40%. Let's see the 3 cars that Susan is considering. First of all, she has in mind the Chevy Spark. It's a small engine that gets good gas mileage. She has to pay $1,500 a year in insurance. The initial cost for taxes is $1,450, and every year she spends $210 for a license. Compare the other cars, they have higher numbers for each of those. So the Ford Mustang is $31,000, the gas mileage is much lower, the insurance and taxes and license are all higher. Her third choice is the Escalade. Certainly a luxury car with a price of $72,000, low gas mileage, high insurance, high taxes, and high license fees. Just how much more will that be than the other cars? We'll find out when we make the bar graph to compare the total cost of ownership for all of these cars. Tim said he would also like to buy one of these 3 cars. He wants to spend as little as possible. He's going to drive the car until it has 250,000. He drives 30,000 miles a year, so everything so far is the same as Susan. However, the difference is he does not have enough money to purchase the car. And so to make things simple, we are just simply going to add 40% of the price of the car to his spreadsheet. So that will include all the interest and bank fees. Now let's look at the spreadsheet to solve this problem. On the left side we have Susan and all of the calculations that we need to come up with a price for which one is going to cost the most. We'll put the cars in column B, C, and D, Spark, Mustang, and Escalade. The yellow section at the top will talk about the initial costs. So this is the price that she pays the day she buys the car. She has to pay the original price plus taxes. The more complicated question is how much does it cost to own this car every year? And there are 3 costs that we need to add together. We have insurance, license, and gas. How much are we going to pay for gas? That's a more complicated question than just looking at the price at the pump. We have to know several things. And so we have a blue calculation area from row 12 to 16. First of all, we need to ask the question, how much does she drive? How many miles every year? What is the miles per gallon, or the MPG, for her car? How much is she paying for gas? And then we will know how much she pays every year for gas. Add those 3 together, and we will have total annual costs, insurance plus license plus the gas. Now the question is, how much is this car going to cost over the entire lifetime of the car? Well, first of all, we know how long she wants to drive. She said 250,000 miles, after which we will assume that the car has basically no value left and she can give it away to a friend. To find out how long the car will live, we have to ask how many miles does she plan to drive each year, what is her goal, which is $250,000, and then we can use those two numbers to find out the total lifetime expectancy of the car. Finally, we will arrive at the bottom where we get the calculations for the annual cost of the car times the number of years that we expect the car to live. We add in the initial price of the costs, and we have a total lifetime cost of the car. It might surprise you that you'll see the numbers up in the range of where you expect to pay for a house. Down a little further, we will calculate the final answer in row 27 and 28. We will calculate the average cost of a year. So we know how long the car expects to go, how many years it expects to go. We also know how many dollars we have total. And so now we can find out what each year will cost for the Spark, Mustang, and Escalade. Highlight these last three numbers with their labels, create a bar chart, and you will give Susan some good information on how much more it will cost to buy luxury cars. On the right side of the equation, we will have Tim. Tim is going to be calculating almost the same values, except Tim doesn't have any money saved. And so the initial cost of his car is going to be 40% higher than what Susan paid. And so that 40% includes all the interest and bank fees. So everything else should be the same. He's driving the same number of miles, and he expects to go $250,000 before the end of life. And so when you're finished with Tim, you'll have a similar graph, but you might find his expenses quite a bit higher than Susan because he doesn't have enough money to pay for the car in cash.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and go back to, let's take a look at over here. So I'm going to go ahead and help you out with this. It might be a little complicated, right? Might be a little bit hard to understand what is going on. So we'll just work it together, okay? So we need to know the initial costs. So the purchase price was $14,500, and the taxes was $1,450, which is basically 10% of that, right? So this is also 10% of that, and this is also 10% of that. All right, so what I did was I put sum equals sum B3 times 0.1. And then over here I put sum C3 times 0.1, and over here I put sum D3 times 0.1. So you're basically adding 10% to the cost. So this one would be equal sum. You would actually add B2 plus B3, right? I'm sorry, I don't know. You're supposed to add B3 plus B4, sorry. Because it doesn't let me see. Okay. So I'm basically adding these two to get the total. And then I'm going to just grab this little corner and I'm going to drag it across, and it's going to give me the total. So 31,000 plus 3,100 is 34,000. And notice that it's just the sum of those two. Okay, I just added these two. All right, so those are my initial costs. What about your yearly costs? So my yearly cost is going to be $1,500 per insurance on the Spark, and $2,500 for the Mustang, and $3,100 for the Escalade. The license is going to be $210, $300 for the Mustang, and $450 for the Escalade. Now the gas, we have to come back to it because we're going to have to calculate it over here. So gas cost calculation. So notice that we're going to be driving 30,000 miles on each vehicle. But this one gets 35 miles to the gallon. This one gets 19 miles to the gallon. This one gets 17 miles to the gallon. And I just realized right now, I was looking at the video the price of gas was $3.98 for the cheap one, and then it was $4.08 for the middle one, for the Mustang, and the Escalade requires the expensive gas, which was at $4.18. Okay, so there's three different prices of gas per gallon. So if you own an expensive vehicle, you're going to pay the premium gas. All right. Well, what's the total annual gas purchases? So how do we get this? So what we want to do is get a formula, right? We're going to say, all right, so you're doing 30,000 miles per year driven, right? And then 35 miles to the gallon. So the total annual would be equal sum. It would be 30,000. Oh, let's go ahead and do not 30,000. B12, which is a 30,000, right? Divided by the miles per gallon, which is B13, times the price per gallon, which is B14. Okay? And that's going to give me the yearly cost for driving 30,000 miles at 35 miles per gallon. At $3.98 per gallon, you're going to spend $3,411. Now, if I just grab this way, it's going to fill in the rest. All right. In a little bit, we're gonna calculate the total gas, because this is the annual. But we're gonna calculate this by knowing the number of years. Okay. But now we can get this number and put it over here. So this is going to equal B15. You see what I'm doing? I'm putting B15, which is the total you got here for annual. And you just grab this one and drag it across. So all I'm doing is copying this number and putting it there, copying this number and putting it there, copying this number and putting it there. Now this yearly cost is going to be the total cost, right? It's going to be equal sum, and you're going to be adding B7 plus B8 plus B9. Okay, you're adding those three. And then you're going to just grab it from the corner and move it across. So this is your total yearly cost. This is adding insurance, license, and gas. This is your yearly gas cost. Okay? So over here, this is your total insurance plus license plus gas. So this is basically that top number. Okay? So this is just basically equals B6. All right? That's all we're doing. We're just grabbing these three. We're grabbing that one and putting it there. And then I'm just going to grab the corner and just go across. So I'm just copying this one to there, and this one to there, and this one to there. This is the total annual costs. Now we need to find the miles to drive each year. So it's 30,000 miles, right? And you want to drive a total of 250,000 miles. So this one would be equal sum. We're going to take this one divided by this one. And that's going to give me how many years you're going to drive the car. And it's 8.33. And then I'm just going to grab this corner and fill it out this way. So far, so good. And then let's delete these because we need to think about it. All right, so annual costs for X years of life. So annual costs. So so your annual costs is things that are recurring every year. So that would probably be these numbers right here. These three numbers. These are your annual costs. So it's basically this one again. So it's going to equal B17, right? Right, so these are your annual costs, which include insurance, license, and gas. And then the lifetime costs is going to be a little more complicated because you're going to have to multiply this by that. So actually this one we're going to multiply by that number. Actually, let's redo this. I think this would make more sense. Let's do it like this. Equals sum, and we're going to put this number times the number of years. Okay? This makes more sense. Okay, so now what we have is the total costs, because you have $5,000 per year of all of these costs per 8, and you're multiplying by 8.33, so you're getting that much. Now you just grab this number and drag it across. Now this is going to be your costs, but it doesn't include the original costs, which were these on top. You see this number up here, this number over here, and this number over here? You haven't included the initial costs. So the lifetime costs are going to equal to sum, and you're going to have to add the initial cost plus all these costs that you're going to incur by, gas, insurance, and license. So this one's going to cost a total of $58,628 in the lifetime of this car. I'm going to grab the corner and drag it across. And so there you go. This one's going to cost $58,000, this one's $111,000, and this one $170,000. People don't think about these things, right? They don't think, oh, I only paid 72. What was it? $72,000 for my Escalade. And they're just thinking that for the life of their Escalade, that's all they paid for their Escalade, right? No, it isn't. It's also including this. You're including basically another $100,000 worth of costs. They don't think about those things. Okay? So there's a lot involved here. A lot involved. Okay, now how do we get the average cost per year? Well, we're going to take this number and divide it by that number. So we're going to say equals sum. We'll take this number divided by this number. And that's it. That'll be the average. This is how much this carrito costs per year. And then if I just grab the corner and drag it this way, I should get the cost for each one per year. So to own an Escalade, it costs $20,000 per year to own an Escalade for 8.33 years. Okay, now what we should do is grab these fields and go over here, insert, recommended charts, and let's go ahead and insert a bar chart. Let's put it on the bottom, and instead of field, let's go ahead and change it to Susan. Susan. And let's go ahead and put bold, and let's change the color to red. Let's change it to like 14. Okay? And that's it. Now, they also want you to do Tim. All we got to do now is just copy this whole thing like this, do Control C, and then on this little box right here, F1, do Control V. And then we're going to make these bigger. So make this bigger, bigger, bigger. Okay? Of course, we're going to change the name. We're going to call him Tim. We're also going to change the color. Let's make him blue. Click right here, click blue. All right. And then remember, basically everything stays the same. The only thing that's different is the purchase price is going to be 1.4 multiplied. So we're going to actually have to do this number times 1.4. Remember, this person is getting a loan. So the purchase price is going to increase. You see? And then this value over here, we have to do equal, 14,500 times 1.4. And so you're going to pay 10% of that. Well, you're also going to pay 1.4 times the taxes because you're getting a loan and you're even paying interest on the taxes, which is pretty bad, right? So this one you also have to change it. You have to go up here and go equals 31,000 times 1.4 because of the loan. So you're actually paying 43,000. All right, and then this one has to be over here. We're going to go equals 72,000 times 1.4. Okay, notice how you're actually paying 100,000 for the Escalade. Pretty steep, right? Okay, notice how now the price goes to 200,000 for the Escalade for the lifetime of the cost. So if you borrow money to buy an Escalade, this is the total cost you're going to pay in its lifetime. You're going to be paying $24,000 per year. So basically, an Escalade is going to cost you about $2,000 per month for 8 years. Okay? And now let's go ahead and create a chart. Let's go to Insert. Let's go to Recommended Charts. Let's go to the first one, insert that one. And the only thing we're going to change is instead of field 1, let's go ahead and put Tim. Click OK. If you want to color Tim blue, go ahead. Change it to blue, whatever you like. Okay? And that's it, guys. Those are the numbers you should get. Remember, I'm looking for formulas. I'm looking for sum, I-25 divided by I-21, H-25 divided by H-21, G-25 divided by G-21, those kind of things. And then remember, this is going to be different. This purchase price is 1.4 times that. This is also 1.4 times that. Okay? You could also have done 1.4 times B3 as well. You could have done that too. All right, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to message me. Make sure that you are that you upload this spreadsheet to Blackboard and answer the question there. Till next time, bye-bye.